the narcissist behind your promotion, and why they might never give you one. You're putting in extra hours, exceeding expectations, making things happen. Yet, every promotion passes you by, while your narcissistic boss takes credit for your work, gaslights you about your potential, and keeps you orbiting just close enough to hope, but never rise. Here's a disturbing revelation. Studies show narcissistic bosses often sabotage high-performing employees to maintain control and protect their own fragile ego. In one analysis of toxic leadership behavior published by the Harvard Business Review, narcissistic managers were found to underpromote capable employees to prevent them from outshining them. It's not just about being overlooked. It's about being strategically buried. So here's the real question. What do you do when the biggest threat to your success is the person who decides your future? If you've ever felt blocked, manipulated, or blindsided by a toxic boss, hit like, subscribe, and share. What you're about to learn will help you spot narcissistic traps, outsmart power plays, and protect your career before it's too late. Chapter 1. The Narcissist Who Keeps You Small. They smile at your ideas. They nod at your enthusiasm. They say things like, you've got real potential, or you're almost ready. But every time a promotion comes up, you're conveniently left out. Ever wonder why? You're not being overlooked by accident. You're being contained by design. Narcissistic bosses thrive on control, not just of projects or profits, but people. In environments where titles equal power, your advancement threatens their dominance. So, instead of rewarding competence, they reward compliance. Here's how it starts. They'll compliment you just enough to keep you loyal, then criticize just enough to keep you dependent. You'll begin to question if maybe you're not quite ready, just like they said. This isn't mentoring, it's psychological manipulation. In a recent corporate behavioral study published by the Journal of Occupational and Organizational Psychology, researchers found that narcissistic leaders tend to suppress high-performing subordinates due to ego threat. The more capable and confident you become, the more likely they'll feel endangered, and the more they'll work to subtly disempower you. Ever hear phrases like, "We just need more time to see how you handle pressure. Let's keep you where you really thrive. This promotion isn't what you think it is, trust me." They aren't honest assessments. They're leash-link justifications. One of the most psychologically jarring tactics narcissistic leaders use is selective empowerment. You'll be given a taste of authority, perhaps asked to lead a small initiative or present at a meeting, and then stripped of decision-making power. It looks generous from the outside. Internally, it's maddening. This keeps you in a loop, grateful, hopeful, trapped. Now, let's talk about the darker twist, reverse mentorship. Some narcissistic bosses will deliberately groom employees they perceive as useful but controllable. You'll receive early praise, attention, and maybe even access to strategic tasks. But when it's time for advancement, the curtain drops. Promotions aren't based on capability. They're based on psychological leverage. They keep you around not to elevate you, but to exploit the value you produce. One particularly chilling case study from a consulting firm involved a team lead who repeatedly blocked his senior analyst's promotion by writing subtly negative performance reviews, even as the analyst doubled revenue under his wing. When the analyst confronted him, the response was cold. "If I lift you too high, people stop looking at me." That analyst eventually left. The boss? Still in power, still grooming the next bright mind to bury. Narcissistic leaders don't create careers, they cannibalize them. But here's the trick. They'll make you feel like the problem. That creeping doubt? It's engineered. Gaslighting plays a critical role in narcissistic power dynamics. You'll hear feedback like, "You're not collaborating enough. There's a reason leadership isn't ready for you. I'm protecting you from taking on too much." Protecting you? Or protecting themselves? Let's also factor in the psychological need narcissists have for admiration and the perceived threat posed by independent success. If you're rising too quickly, especially with recognition beyond their control, they'll act. Sometimes subtly, sometimes aggressively. You'll find your accomplishments minimized, your credit redistributed, or your potential reframed as risk. This isn't leadership. It's career sabotage dressed in mentorship robes. So, how do you spot this early? Look for uneven praise followed by undermining actions. Promotions happening around you despite your results. Vague reasons for delays in advancement. Shifting expectations and constantly moving goalposts. Psychologically, This kind of leadership instability breeds what researchers call performance paralysis, a loop where employees work harder for recognition that's designed never to arrive. The cost? Burnout, confusion, and eventual resignation. But here's the most disturbing part. You're not alone. A major meta-study on narcissistic leadership found nearly 1 in 5 high-performing professionals reported consistent obstruction from egotistical superiors. And the longer they stayed, the more they internalized failure that wasn't theirs. It's time to break that illusion. You are not too much. You are not too soon. You're simply a threat to someone who needs everyone beneath them to feel big. Chapter 2, Promotion Sabotage, Hidden Tactics. You think you're doing everything right, showing up, speaking up, outperforming. But somehow, that promotion slips through the cracks again and again. The narcissist in charge doesn't just ignore your work, they rewrite the narrative around it. Let's talk tactics, not the loud, obvious ones, but the shadow moves that narcissistic bosses use to bury your rise in plain sight. 1. The performance mirage. It starts with shifting standards. 1 month, success means hitting KPIs. Next month, it's about team synergy. Then it's executive alignment. You chase goals that move like fog, never quite graspable. This tactic keeps you working harder, constantly off balance, always almost promotable, never quite there. Psychologists call this goalpost shifting, a cognitive control maneuver used to maintain dominance. Narcissistic leaders weaponize ambiguity to create stress and self-doubt in high achievers. 2. Strategic praise and delays. Ever get glowing reviews with no tangible outcome? You're told you're doing great, really stepping up, and then silence. No advancement. No actual feedback. This isn't oversight, it's intentional delay. Narcissistic bosses thrive on dangling the carrot. It feeds their control dynamic while maintaining the illusion of mentorship. In a study published by the Leadership Quarterly, researchers found narcissistic managers often use praise as a distraction technique to suppress confrontation and delay promotion conversations. 3. Credit leaching. One of the boldest forms of sabotage is idea hijacking. Your strategy becomes our collective insight. Your analysis? Developed by leadership. Suddenly, your accomplishments are community property, with your narcissistic boss at the head of the parade. This tactic not only steals recognition, but also reroutes influence, making it seem like the boss was the brains all along. Over time, your impact feels diluted. You question your value. That's the point. 4. Reputation engineering. Here's one of the darkest tactics: behind-the-scenes reputation damage. While smiling to your face, a narcissistic leader might be planting subtle doubts about you to upper management. Comments like, "They're talented but not quite polished. Still working on their emotional intelligence. A bit too ambitious. We're keeping an eye." These aren't critiques. They're psychological landmines designed to reshape how others view you before you even get the chance to prove yourself. What's especially insidious is that these statements sound reasonable. That's the brilliance of narcissistic sabotage. It's rarely overt. It's dressed in caution, not criticism. 5. Isolation through exclusion. Feeling left out of meetings, strategic huddles, or decision-making loops. That's not a scheduling issue. It's isolation. By cutting you off from critical info, narcissistic bosses reduce your strategic relevance. You can't contribute fully because you're kept in the dark. This stunts visibility, and without visibility, promotions are vapor. Studies in organizational psychology show that strategic exclusion not only harms morale, but systematically erodes advancement pathways. Narcissists know this. They use it to silence rising stars. 6. The false advocate role. One of the most deceptive tactics involves narcissistic bosses positioning themselves as your champion publicly. They'll tell leadership they're working closely with you, helping you develop leadership muscles, guiding your career path. Behind closed doors, they're blocking access, burying feedback, or even derailing internal referrals. This two-faced strategy turns them into your obstacle and your gatekeeper. You can't go around them because they've built the illusion that they're helping you. This creates a psychological bind. If you challenge them, you look ungrateful. If you stay silent, you stay stuck. 7. Targeted opportunity starvation. Narcissistic bosses may deliberately assign you roles that don't lead anywhere, projects that aren't visible, tasks that sound good but don't stretch you. You're busy, maybe even successful in execution, but your actual trajectory is frozen. Compare this to your peers being given client-facing initiatives, speaking opportunities, or cross-functional roles. You're being siloed. Quietly. Strategically. 8. Token promotions. If they do promote you, it might come with strings, no real authority, no budget, vague title changes. You feel upgraded, but you've just entered a new layer of psychological control. In one haunting example from a financial firm, a high-performing analyst was promoted to strategic advisor with no defined scope. The boss declared him a rising star while ensuring every decision still funneled through the boss. Eventually, he burned out and resigned. The narcissist then described it as a failure to adapt. The irony? He never had a chance to adapt. He was never given actual leadership. The scariest part of all this? You might think it's your fault. That internal self-talk, maybe I'm not ready, maybe I'm just impatient, doesn't come from nowhere. It's manufactured. Psychologically, this is called cognitive dissonance erosion. Narcissists cultivate environments where your expectations and reality clash so often, you begin rewriting your expectations. You lower your standards. You convince yourself not to want the promotion. It's silent career demolition. Coming up next, Chapter 3, Climbing the Ladder Without Their Help, where we shift gears into strategy, how to outmaneuver narcissistic bosses and take back your advancement path. Chapter 3, Climbing the Ladder Without Their Help. So you've recognized the manipulation. You're working under someone who weaponizes mentorship, hoards credit, and subtly blocks your growth. The million-dollar question now is, how do you rise anyway? This chapter isn't about confrontation. It's about psychological strategy. You're not going to wait for permission. You're going to build elevation from the inside out. Step 1. Document everything. Yes, everything. First off, narcissists hate facts that can't be bent. That's why keeping a private success portfolio is crucial. Start recording quantifiable wins, project outcomes, team contributions, innovations. Include dates, details, and metrics. If your boss refuses to acknowledge them, you've still got hard evidence when you pitch your growth to HR, senior leadership, or even competitors. It's not paranoia. It's psychological insurance. According to career strategist Lindsay Kearns, employees in narcissistic environments are 3x more likely to receive biased performance reviews. Documentation isn't just proof, it's power. Step 2. Build influence outside their reach. Your narcissistic boss may control your reporting line, but not your reputation. Begin cultivating relationships across departments. Attend cross-functional meetings. Contribute thoughtful insights in company chats. Volunteer for org-wide projects. Why? Visibility. The more people who know your name, the harder it is for one person to hide you. Narcissists operate in silos, break out of them. A former Deloitte analyst once shared how building alliances with a director outside her department got her an internal referral, bypassing her narcissistic manager completely. It's called a reputation ladder. Start climbing it. Step 3. Become the data whisperer. Narcissists thrive on subjective control. So flip the game. Anchor your impact in hard data. If your ideas drive revenue, prove it. If your work streamlines workflow, show it with before and after analysis. Numbers are neutral. They can't be gaslit. Also, come prepared to link your output to company objectives. Promotions come faster when you're viewed as not just a worker, but a strategic asset. Step 4. Craft a promotion plan, then pitch it. Here's the twist. Narcissistic bosses rarely block advancement face-to-face. They rely on vagueness. So what happens when you bring a detailed, outcome-based proposal? You corner the ambiguity. Design a promotion pitch like a mini business plan. Include your accomplishments with metrics, your vision for the role you want, how it aligns with org goals, the resources you'd need to succeed. This flips the psychological power dynamic. You're not asking for a favor. You're proposing growth backed by strategy. Step 5. Tap into executive coaching or mentorship. Find someone outside your direct line who understands career politics. Executive coaches, HR allies, or high-ranking peers can offer tactical insight and often provide an indirect path around a narcissistic leader. One client in a legal tech company discovered that her VP had been quietly advocating for her after watching her navigate her toxic boss with calm professionalism. She eventually jumped departments and got a promotion without a whisper from her manager. Step 6. Create a public portfolio or thought leadership. Want to make yourself unignorable? Write articles, share insights on LinkedIn, or speak at industry panels. Thought leadership creates external credibility that can't be diluted internally. This tactic also triggers one of the narcissist's greatest fears, your influence growing beyond them. You become harder to control, harder to silence. Remember, visibility beats manipulation. Every time. Step 7. Apply elsewhere with leverage. If things stagnate, don't wait for rescue. Apply externally, and if you land an offer, use it as leverage. Not out of desperation, but strength. And here's the kicker. Narcissistic bosses may suddenly offer a promotion to keep you. That's fine, just make sure you're not being love-bombed back into servitude. A word of caution. If they counter with vague promises, deflect again. You've already seen how they operate. Step 8. Master the art of polite defiance. You don't have to scream. You don't have to fight. Sometimes, the most powerful rebellion is quiet alignment with your own goals. When your boss tries to bait you with emotional criticism, respond with data. When they offer fake praise, smile, then push for outcomes. When they isolate you, build bridges. Eventually, they'll notice something terrifying to narcissists. Their control is slipping. And you're rising. Coming up next, Chapter 4, The Narcissist's Firing Blueprint, where we expose the psychological tactics narcissists use to push you out, and how to spot them before it's too late. Chapter 4, The Narcissist's Firing Blueprint. What happens when you've outgrown your narcissistic boss's control? When your visibility threatens their narrative and your competence outshines their charisma? Simple. They don't promote you. They prepare to eliminate you. Yes, narcissists fire high performers, but not directly, not loudly. They engineer exits that look like your fault and feel like your failure. Let's break down their blueprint. Stage 1. Undermine and isolate. The first tactic is psychological distancing. You'll notice a sudden drop in communication, fewer meeting invites, and an eerie silence in shared discussions. Tasks once shared collaboratively now arrive without context, set up to trip you up. This isn't oversight. It's a setup. Isolation creates vulnerability. With less access to information, you're more prone to mistakes. And each one gets magnified. Remember, narcissists don't need you to fail. They just need others to believe you're failing. Stage 2. Rewrite your reputation. Behind closed doors, they start reshaping your story. They casually raise doubts about your attitude, your engagement, or your team fit. All vague, impossible to disprove. They might say, "They've seemed a little off lately. I'm concerned about their commitment. I don't think they're aligned with our vision." These statements aren't meant to terminate you yet. They're designed to plant the seed. Because when the time comes, HR doesn't hear about your achievements. They recall concerns. It's psychological erasure. Stage 3. Assign impossible tasks. Ever get a project with no resources, unclear scope, and a tight deadline? And then told it's a priority? That's not a challenge, it's career sabotage. Failing a task that was built to fail becomes the excuse. Narcissistic bosses use this as proof of declining performance. The irony? You were never meant to succeed. In organizational psychology, this tactic is called performance entrapment, a deliberate mismatch between capability and conditions to justify punishment. Stage 4. Feedback turned weapon. During this phase, performance reviews turn cryptic. You'll see vague criticisms like lacks leadership, needs to align better, or isn't growing at the expected pace. And when you ask for specifics, you get deflection. It's just a general impression. You're doing okay, let's just keep watching. This robs you of the chance to correct course while quietly compiling evidence against you. Stage 5. Social undermining. Watch how your boss interacts with others. Subtle eye rolls when your name comes up. Tense body language during your presentations. Nonverbal cues are powerful, and narcissists use them to signal doubt without saying a word. Why? Because over time, team trust erodes. Colleagues stop backing you. Senior leaders become wary. You've been marked and the label spreads. Social psychology refers to this as subconscious discrediting cues that bypass rational thought and breed bias under the surface. Stage 6, the trigger moment. Eventually, the narcissist creates or seizes a moment, a missed deadline, a heated exchange, a trivial misunderstanding, and escalates it. Suddenly, you're called disruptive, not aligned, a risk. This moment is rarely about merit. It's about timing. You're out, not because you failed, but because they could spin the story. One disturbing real-world example: a talented software engineer was fired after being blamed for a data sync error. It wasn't his fault. Internal documents proved the fault lay elsewhere. But the narcissistic VP framed it as negligence. The VP claimed the engineer ignored warnings that were never given. And HR sided with the narrative. Stage 7, the exit narrative. You're gone. But the story lives on. Narcissistic bosses often distort the aftermath. We wish them well, it just wasn't the right fit. They had trouble with collaboration. Leadership couldn't get aligned on their role. This protects their reputation. It also ensures your absence isn't questioned. Anyone curious is met with a tidy explanation and warned, subconsciously, that challenge leads to exile. So how do you counter this firing blueprint? Keep records. Every ambiguous review, every shifted goalpost, every assignment. Dates matter. Build allies. Make sure others see your truth. When narratives clash, multiple witnesses dilute manipulation. Speak strategically. If you must challenge the narrative, do so calmly and factually. Emotional explosions feed their story. Exit with dignity. If you're forced out, own your departure. Frame it professionally. Your silence becomes your strength. They expect chaos. Give them clarity. But most importantly, remember that being fired by a narcissist isn't a reflection of your failure. It's proof of your impact. They didn't eliminate you because you were weak. They did it because they couldn't control your strength. Coming next, Chapter 5, the psychological exit strategy, where we'll rebuild your confidence, frame your recovery, and turn career sabotage into strategic rebirth. Chapter 5, the psychological exit strategy. So you've seen it all. The sabotage, the gaslighting, the isolation. Maybe you've already been denied a promotion or pushed out the door entirely. But here's the truth. When you escape a narcissistic boss, you're not just recovering, you're reprogramming. This chapter isn't just about surviving. It's about redesigning your narrative from broken trust to unshakable clarity. Step 1. Detangle your identity from their story. For months, maybe years, your perception of your worth was filtered through one distorted lens. So the first step is radical separation. It's time to rewrite the self-image that got rewritten by someone else's insecurity. You didn't fail. You were targeted. A narcissist doesn't sabotage people they don't perceive as powerful. Let that sink in. Start journaling. What are your actual strengths? Your actual accomplishments? Strip out their feedback. Reclaim the truth. Step 2. Conduct a psychological autopsy. Yes, really. Take a deep, clinical look at how the manipulation unfolded. What tactics were used? What moments felt twisted? This isn't emotional wallowing, it's tactical reflection. Call out the gaslighting. Name the bait and switch promotions. Document the isolation. This process helps build cognitive closure, a vital psychological step in trauma recovery. According to trauma psychologist Dr. Jennifer Freyd, understanding betrayal trauma involves mapping the abuser's tactics. Once we see the pattern, we stop blaming ourselves. Step 3. Build a resume that ignores their limitations. Your ex-boss may have kept you boxed in, but your resume doesn't have to reflect that cage. Frame every achievement with clarity and boldness. Use metrics. Use results. Don't downplay impact because they did. Tip: replace job titles they watered down with function-driven headers like strategic analyst or revenue architect, descriptors tied to your contribution, not their ego. Step 4. Own your exit and frame the story. In interviews, don't dodge the departure. Reclaim it. I left after realizing my values and leadership approach didn't align with the culture. I'm looking for growth that rewards transparency and collaboration. You're not hiding pain, you're reframing power. This subtle narrative signals integrity and psychological resilience. Step 5. Rebuild confidence through wins. Start small. Grab freelance work. Launch that side project. Apply to roles that stretch you, not terrify you. Each success injects identity where narcissism once injected doubt. Confidence, psychologically, isn't innate. It's pattern-based. A string of earned wins rewires the brain to recognize capability again. Step 6. Network authentically. Tell real stories. Talk to others about what happened, without bitterness, but with truth. I worked under a highly controlling manager. Eventually, I realized it was toxic and made the decision to move on. This kind of radical honesty builds connection and creates new opportunities. Because guess what? Everyone has a story, and your courage builds trust. Step 7. Spot the next narcissist before they spot you. Next time you'll know. Watch for vague praise, power hoarding, zero-sum thinking. The boss who needs constant admiration? Red flag. The manager who discourages cross-team visibility? Red flag. Your trauma taught you pattern recognition. Use it. Step 8. Forgive yourself for staying. Here's the hardest one. You stayed because you believed in growth, believed in mentorship, believed things would change. That's not weakness. That's humanity. You didn't fail. You were learning. And now, you're free. Not just from them, but from the internalized narrative they implanted. Forgiving yourself is not optional. It's psychological liberation. Final thought. Reframe the entire journey. You weren't defeated by a narcissist. You were refined by one. Your story isn't tragic, it's instructive. And one day, someone will sit across from you, broken and doubting because they too worked under manipulation. You'll smile, you'll nod, and you'll tell them how you rose. Because you did. You are. And no title, no sabotage, no narcissist can ever rewrite that again. If you're ready to uncover the psychological and strategic secrets to surviving corporate downsizing in the age of AI, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with anyone whose career might be one algorithm away from extinction. Let's decode the system together.